What's going on, everybody? This is Brent031. Appreciate everybody tuning in. I apologize for the delay in our start time. We've had some comm issues, unfortunately, tonight, but we think we got this all squared away. So we're about to kick off this Interviews with Warfighters, episode, I think it's 8, with Sgt Freddy Osuna. And if you guys don't know who he is, he's a published author of Index Tracking Essentials Guide to Trailing Men and Beast. He's also been a contributing writer to Breach Bang Clear, Recoil Magazine, and various other military and law enforcement-related publications. Along with his company, Greenside Training, he's instructed U.S. allied militaries around the world, federal, state, and municipal law enforcement entities, as well as everyday armed prepared citizens on the craft of visual tracking and sensory awareness, camouflaging techniques, and a whole host of other tactical skill sets. But before all of this, he served this great country in this nation's premier fighting force, the United States Marine Corps. So that being said, guys, welcome Sgt Freddy Osuna, United States Marine Corps. Welcome on tonight, brother.
Raw. What's up, guys? What's up, Brent?
Yeah, brother, it's good to see you again, man.
Yeah, it's been a long time. We've been trying to connect. Our paths have kind of paralleled each other in the camouflage world, at least, gear world.
Yep, 100%. So before we get down this road of talking about your Marine Corps career, because that's what this Interviews with Warfighters is all about, I just want to plug your company, man, because I know the vast majority of the people that are watching my channel are interested in the type of training that your company, Greenside Training, puts out. So if you could, before we get into this interview, could you just preface this with an introduction to your company and what you guys bring to the table?
Okay. One quick thing. You control the main volume for this? Because I'm having a real low volume level right now.
Possibly. Let me look. How's that sound?
Same.
Okay, yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think I can do anything with that, man.
Okay, I might be able to put a Bluetooth if I need to. But yeah, I'll preface it with the big picture here. I run a small organization called Greenside Training. Small as in me and a couple other guest instructors here and there. Mostly former military, jarheads, guys who are from the reconnaissance surveillance field, snooping and pooping, teaching camouflage and concealment, tracking, as in visual tracking footprints, tire impressions, weapons impressions on the ground, basically doing the skills of the old people, our old ancestors, as far as Native Americans and early American warriors during the American Revolution, even back to the French and Indian Wars, teaching people how to read, follow, and interpret footprints in search of bad guys. So we're still doing that today, and along with a handful of really talented and passionate people across the United States that also do this, we're keeping this skill alive so that we can make sure that all the lessons learned in blood are not forgotten for our warriors of tomorrow. That's the big picture.
So I got to say, one of the best training courses I've gone to in the United States Marine Corps was the Combat Hunter, and I mean that's essentially what you do. So that's phenomenal. So in any event, I put a link to Freddie's company's website in the description box. So with that being said, guys, let's go ahead and get into this. All right. So let's go back, Freddie. Man, what year was it? When did you join the Marine Corps? What made you join? And then specifically, what made you join the United States Marine Corps Infantry?
Well, in two instances growing up made me join the United States Marine Corps, inspired me. And that was, first one was Tom Berenger, born on the 4th of July. Tom Berenger, all right? When he walks into the high school gym, dressed blues, I'm like, what the hell is that guy? You know, I was a little kid when they came out. I'm like, all right, that's kind of, piqued my interest. Didn't have any Marines in the family. Was raised by a World War II veteran, actually, World War II infantryman. but knew I wanted to join. But until that moment, I didn't know I wanted to be a Marine. So the second instance was probably about 5-6 years later. Also inspired by a man named Tom Berenger in the movie Sniper, right? Movie Sniper. Master Sergeant Thomas Beckett, right? So that was my second. And from that day, I was like, one day I'm going to be a Marine Corps Scout Sniper. Didn't know what I was trying to get my head into. No idea. Actually joined the Marines in 99, inspired by the Kosovo War. Stuff going on in Kosovo. I was like, you know what? I could be over there or I could be over here. Either way, I'm probably in about the same amount of danger. And, Tucson, hang with the homies, doing nothing with my life. I might as well go do that. So met a guy named Sergeant Randy Waltower, and about a week later, I was off to MEPS. I was like the easiest recruit ever. So that was 99. Went to so I was off to MCRD, Hollywood Marine.
That's funny that you mentioned Born on the 4th of July, and you said Tom Berenger, because everybody thinks Tom Cruise, which is like the star of that movie, but you're absolutely right. In the very beginning, when he's like sitting in the school auditorium, Tom Berenger walks out, and he's just like your freaking salt dog, 1,000-yard stare, and just like the epitome of a Marine. That's a great scene.
It is.
So, all right. So you go to recruit training, man. What was it like? I know for kind of our generation, and you came into Marine Corps before me, but there wasn't as much back then, like in terms of what is Marine Corps recruit training like, as it is like nowadays. Like nowadays, there's like full blown documentaries. So we really didn't have that back then. There might have been a show or two out there, but they weren't readily available. We didn't have YouTube. So what was recruit training like for you?
It was for the guys who went in during that time were really misinformed. Were victim to some really cunning recruiters, or were just dudes that were really down to serve. And so for me, there was no information available. All I knew was every time I'd mention it to my friends, dads, or elders that I knew in the community, they would say, "Freddie, no. Join the Army. Join the Air Force. Don't join the Marines. You don't know what you're doing." And I said, okay, well, that's exactly the answer I wanted. I think I was kind of like primed for that. I always wanted to suffer. I always wanted to, because of various circumstances in my life, I was just born to suffer, right? I was just born for it. And so that's exactly what I signed up for. I joined. I wanted to experience this, whatever stress anybody could put me through, sleep deprivation, crappy food. But one thing I was not prepared for was the boredom. That's the force multiplier right there, the boredom of Marine Corps boot camp, and just having to stand still for an hour straight staring at the back of someone's head, or sweating your balls off reading a green book and line for the chow hall. Or just the boredom is probably the worst part of it, but I wasn't disappointed, man. Boot camp sucked.
Okay, so how did it feel to graduate from Marine Corps recruit training and you get that Eagle Globe and Anchor and you're called Marine for the first time?
Say that again, Brent.
How did it feel, man, when you graduated from Marine Corps recruit training and they give you that Eagle Globe and Anchor and you're called Marine for the first time?
It was probably the most, up until that point, I understood a little bit of camaraderie. I played baseball growing up. I played Pop Warner football. I played soccer. I played football in high school. So I understood camaraderie. But up until that point, I didn't understand earning the fruits of my own labor. You know, I had jobs. I probably worked from 9 years old till I was 18 at this point, you know, doing summer jobs, working at a luggage store as a luggage repairman. You know, I was out on my own at 17. I grew up in, you know, grew up in a system. But up until that point, I really didn't understand what standing on your own 2 feet and earning something was. And to have the Eagle Globe, a black Eagle Globe and anchor handed to you under the mist of a California morning from the marine layer coming off the ocean after going through a week-long crucible, and who is it? You know, proud to be an American playing at the top of the mountain, and grown men crying around you. I didn't cry, but they cried. That was inspiring, man. I was like, you know what? This is the greatest thing I've ever done. I'm gonna make sure I get this feeling again, and I'm never gonna stop getting this feeling for the rest of my life. I'm gonna try and do good for myself. You know, that's what it meant to me.
That's fucking awesome, man. All right, so you go to School of Infantry. I assume you go to SOI West, right? Over there, Camp Pendleton.
Yep, SOI West. I went straight. There was no break between boot camp. You just go straight to SOI. And it was, no kidding, it was a real quick intro. I think back then, as opposed to maybe 3 or 4 years, you know, when I got in 99, we were still focused on the Cold War. Our equipment was built for that. Our training and tactics were built for that. Weapon systems. You know, there was a transition taking place, but for the most part, we were still talking about, you know, Ivan and, you know, and commies and all that. And that's what we focused on. We didn't know what the next enemy was going to be. We knew that there was insurgencies going around in third worlds, you know, that were, you know, militia, you know, fundamentalist Islamic based extremism, but that was like a secret war at that time. The big enemy in the front of us that we were taught as young Marines was Ivan. You know, it was the Russians. And until 9/11, that didn't change. But once it happened, it was just a quick turnaround, man. It was quick. Hey, we're going to Afghanistan. We're going to Iraq. You know, this is a complete different pivot. But so SOI was very different back then. You know, it wasn't uncommon to see, even in boot camp in 99, it wasn't uncommon to see drill instructors or SOI instructors more often putting their hands on Marines, or even going hand to hand with Marines in order to, I guess, gain their respect or to get their attention. Right? That was common back then.
Yeah. Okay, so you find out you were going to be an 0311 rifleman. How did that feel? Because, I mean, going to active duty, man, you go in, you know, infantry option, and like you don't know what your MOS is going to be. You could be any one of the infantry MOSs. So were you happy that you were slated to be an 11?
I was really happy, especially because one of my buddies was a contract 0321, and he failed the NDOC because he had the flu at SOI. And they sent that dude the box kicker, man. He was a contract 0321. You know, the guy was just a stud, just ran circles around everybody. Boot camp, SOI, NDOC comes, he has the flu, and he can't swim. And he only had one chance. And 4 years he was in supply, and he hated it.
Oh,
it was
man.
a horrible experience. He never got a chance to go back, try again. So I was really glad I was 0311 at that time. But it was the 0311s were like, I guess, you know, I think that's where you started to segregate your opinions about people. You know, like, you're like, okay, well, why are those guys, those weapons guys over there? What are they doing? You know, how come they look so sloppy? How come we're always running and suffering? And how come we're always fighting all the time? How come we're always with boots and utes running everywhere? They get to wear PT gear, but we're always punching each other, wrestling whenever we're not working. Like, that's not cool. So we kind of had an idea at that point that our next 4 years was going to suck. But like I said, I welcomed it. That was the point of being a Marine. It wasn't to go to college. I didn't join. I tell my son this because he's mature enough to hear it this way. I didn't join initially to serve my country. I wasn't an idealist in that matter. I didn't join to go to get a GI Bill, to go to college. I didn't join to, I may have joined because of the dress blues. I'm not sure yet. But I joined because I wanted to whoop it on, man. I wanted to go to combat. That was like the NFL Super Bowl for me. Like, that's what I was going to do. And eventually, though, I developed the respect, through looking side by side of who I'm serving with and the big picture of why and the history of and the lineage of what I'm a part of. And that was like, damn, this is like, not only do I have to kick people's asses, I get to be like part of the gun club, dude, like the biggest gang in the world. It's cool.
Freaking motivating, boy.
Man, it was cool, dude. Still is.
Yeah. All right, bud. So you graduate from SOI, and what was the first battalion you were assigned to?
I actually got recruited out of SOI to do a screening for some stupid reason for Yankee White. And it was this guy, Staff Sergeant Carroll. If I see him, he's getting punched in the throat. But Staff Sergeant Carroll at the time, man. He was actually an 8541, old school 8541. And that son of a bitch recruited me into the Yankee White program. And so I go Yankee White, presidential security. I ended up in Washington, D.C. for about 2 months. I go to Annapolis for about a year. And I'm like miserable. And luckily, this old infantryman named Donnie Brazil and said, hey, get this son of a bitch out of here. He's going to go to prison if he stays over here and around these midshipmen and girls. We need to get this guy out to the fleet and make some use of him. So they sent me to 1st Battalion, 6th Marines. So I did my first 4 years pretty much with them, finished up with 1st Battalion, 6th Marines at Camp Lejeune with 1-6 hard under Paul McKenna. That's me right there, Jungle Warfare Training Center at Okinawa, Japan, Northern Training Center. Awesome place, man. Bugs the size of Oprah's nipples. No big deal. That's what Brent told me, at least.
Yeah, because I would know. Well, cool, man. Did you do any pumps with them?
We went to Okinawa, Japan. We got a security mission to Chinhae, Korea. After living in the jungle for a month and a half, we got put on a boat, my platoon, which was Bravo Company, 2nd Platoon, 1st Battalion, 6th Marines, put on a boat with a scout sniper who happened to be a South Korean American, spoke South Korean, spoke fluent Korean. He was our liaison, and we were based out of a maritime prepositioning ship called the USS Baldomero Lopez. And needless to say, we were stationed on the ship, but they made us live on the damn pier in the middle of the summer in Chinhae, which is a tropical damn wasteland. So we go from getting eaten by mosquitoes in the jungle at Okinawa to getting eaten by mosquitoes that radiate at this time in the city outskirts of a port in Chinhae, Korea. So I think they felt sorry for us eventually, like 2 months later of living on this damn port. So this is like 4 months of living in tents, dude, from a jungle to a freaking third world slum pier. It was horrible, but they finally let us in a well deck, and they were going to kick us off after we actually got shot at by the South Korean army. But that's a very vague.
How the heck did that happen?
Well, I was on guard one night. Yeah, there I was on guard. And I was a sergeant of the guard, roaming patrol. We were protecting like rockets and shit on the port, tanks, rockets, all this offload from this ship that was getting fixed. And I heard gunshots. So anyway, there was Marines on Libo from my platoon running down the pier, getting shot at by South Korean Army towards the boat. Luckily, the South Korean Marine, the 8541, if anybody doesn't know, 8541 is a Marine Scout Sniper. He was like our liaison there. He runs out and saves these guys' asses, right? Because they were going to get them. And so, needless to say, it was all swept under the rug. Like it should have been like an international incident. But due to the luck of having a South Korean, U.S. Marine, it all got swept under the rug and may or may not have been an alcohol incident. So.
No, you don't say.
Yeah. So yeah, that was our deployment 1-6. After I got back from Asia, we were getting ready to go right into Afghanistan. I PCS to 1st Battalion 4th Marines because my mentor up until this point was from 1st Battalion 4th Marines and was driving me to go to 1st Battalion 4th Marines at Camp Horno, the oven. The oven with mountains.
I love that place. All right, so you check into 1-4. What rank are you at this point?
I'm a young sergeant.
A young sergeant. So you promoted pretty fast then, huh?
No. I just PCS and I just got promoted. Not like today. Well, it might have been fast back then, but today it's like I watch these Marines getting promoted like crazy. Like it's nothing to be a sergeant within 4 years nowadays for some reason.
Yeah, I remember there was a lot of guys, man, that I knew and served with that left as Lance Corporals after 4 years. Like they never pinned on a corporal. And
yeah. Wow.
So I guess it's different times back then.
I know a lot of guys that should have, but yeah, it was different times.
All right, man. So let's get into this. So you check into Bravo 1-4, and when did 9/11 happen? Were you with 1-4 at the time, or was that before you got to 1-4?
I was just getting to 1-6 when 9/11 happened, and what was cool was before I got to 1-6, like I said, I was kind of being groomed by, even though I was at the this dog and pony show unit, the Yankee White program in DC, we were still 0311s. So I was able to still, practice, get trained, attend training for infantry, squad, and tactics. So I actually went to squad leaders course while I was at 9/11 happened at 9 a.m. while I was on squad leaders course doing our effects, weighing my pack. I'm weighing my pack, right? And I hear the radio. The instructor walks in with a radio, sets it down by the thing, and I set my pack on the scale. And the pack's 115 pounds, I remember, which was what it's supposed to be. And and that's when I hear them talking about the building, the Pentagon was hit by an airplane. So then, as you'd imagine, we step off. We got like an hour in the classroom. After this hour, we're going to be in the field for 1 week for a final exercise for squad leaders course in the United States Marine Corps Infantry, dude. Shit got real really fast right there. I'm talking like as we were walking out, there was dudes that were getting pulled out on the hump out that we never saw again. I never even heard of one dude spoke Arabic, and I knew him for up until that point. I knew him for a year. As we were humping out, he disappeared. Someone came in a van, picked him up, and I never heard from him ever again in my life. Our lives completely changed right there as Marines. And it was exciting. I'm not gonna lie, it was exciting. It was scary. You know, it was very scary because we knew we were infantrymen. We know what that meant. Like we're the ones that are gonna pay in blood. It's our job. But we sure as hell at that point approached our training and our attitude towards training a lot differently, man. It was a very, very serious atmosphere in the bush, and never went to the bush again after that, like in the same manner. So
yeah, so I mean,
cool.
How does that feel? Like you know war's coming, you're a grunt, and like it's hard for people to understand. Like obviously war is, you know, terrible. You know, a lot of bad stuff happens in war. But as a grunt, when you train every single day, like you're training for combat, you're training for war. At some point, you reach that moment where it's like, I'm done training. Like I want to put what I've been training for into practice, and you know, you welcome that opportunity. So is that what you were feeling at that time, man? Like you ready to go get some?
Yeah, I think that at that point, that was pretty much the whole Marine Corps' attitude, especially my peers. It's a naive Sergeant Osuna, Corporal Osuna back then, that I would like slap real fast if I could today and say, look, yeah, you got, you know, this is coming, but you're still going to train. You're going to go to war, and you're going to come back, and you're going to train again, and then you're going to go to war again, and you're going to have to train again. The enemy's always going to change. He's going to always adapt, and you're going to have to. He's going to relearn what he did 20 years ago, and he's going to use that against you. Then he's going to develop, and he's going to get funded for things that are way advanced that you couldn't have predicted. And there's nothing you could possibly do to anticipate what the enemy is going to do unless you learn to eat, sleep, shit, breathe, smell, and think like the enemy. And if you can't do that, he's going to win. And that's what today's, you know, Sergeant Osuna would tell Corporal Osuna 20-something years ago that he needed to hear, you know, because we were arrogant. As Marines, we're typically arrogant as it is, but yeah, it was exciting. It was exciting that it was coming. I wasn't afraid. I don't think we're supposed to be afraid because we train. You know, if you do your training, there's nothing to be afraid of. If you prepare properly, then, you know, you're not afraid to get punched in the face because you know you're going to get punched in the face. You just got to get back up and punch back. So.
All right, man. So let's fast forward back with Bravo 14. You get the word that we're deploying to Kuwait for the possibility of an invasion of Iraq. So what was that like?
At that point, we were all right. So we were 1-4. I got the 1-4, and you got 1-4 was just returning from the invasion. I was in Asia 2001, 2002. Yeah, 2003. Sorry, my memory's pretty jacked up. But so while 1-4 was in the invasion, I was in Japan at 1-6. When I got back, I PCS'd to 1-4. You guys were getting back to an invasion, and then we began work up for OIF-2. So that's where we're at right here. So right now I'm meeting all 1-4 Bravo Company platoon, First Sergeant Morales, Captain Carrasco, Samuel Carrasco. Is he Lieutenant Colonel Major?
Yeah, I believe he's a Lieutenant Colonel now.
Okay. So we're meeting our future, you know, all my leadership at that point under Staff Sergeant Prevednikov, who just came back from the drill field. Who else? Sergeant Morris, another squad leader. Sergeant Zahn, squad leader. Yeah, I got my team leaders Stocking, Young. Who else? I got fire team, guys in my team or my squad are Myrick's this time. Myrick's, Foster, Danny Wright. Who else? I can't remember them all right now, but like I said, my memory's jacked up. But there's Samuel Carrasco and First Sergeant Mo right there.
Yeah, this is the CO, and this is our company First Sergeant. Legends.
Yeah, you know, I've trained a lot of people in the last 20 years. Well, no, more notably over the last 12 years since I've been out. And I'll tell you what, the most important thing anyone ever told me, well, the most important thing anyone told me was from Donnie Brazil. And he told me there's no such thing as no, Freddie. Stay in the Marine Corps 20 years and don't let nobody tell you no. And I was like, what the hell does that mean, dude? Are you kidding me? You tell me no all the time, you old bastard. But I understood later, okay? The second most important thing they ever told me was from First Sergeant Mo. The First Sergeant Mo used to tell us all, he used to say, Marines, nothing changes in combat. Nothing changes in combat. I'm like, what the hell does this Yoda, this old ass Yoda dude that would probably crush my skull right now in 5 seconds? What the hell is this guy trying to say? Well, after combat, after my first, couple firefights and sustained fights, you clearing cemeteries, looking for bad guys, freaking ass pucker moments, almost getting your ass blown up for months, and wonder if you're going to come home and finally accepting your death like a samurai. I finally understood what the hell First Sergeant Mo was saying, man. And it means if you didn't train for it, it ain't going to happen. And after I understood that, I was like, you know what? I want to teach people. I was like, I want to teach people. That's the most important part of being a Marine. That's the most important part of being a patriot, is to teach people what the hell he was talking about. Is there's nothing changes in combat. Nothing changes. And I have 5 children, and my premise for teaching them how to fight and defend themselves or protect themselves or make good decisions is based on what he told me those long years ago, is nothing changes in combat. So, if you didn't practice for it, it's just not going to happen, man. So it's just such a great lesson from these.
Yeah, just kind of to paint First Sergeant Morales for those of you that didn't know him, had the privilege of knowing him. He was just a fucking warfighter, man. The guy, he was in Desert Storm. He was if I remember correctly, he was an 0351 assaultman, a dragon gunner back then. So, he's blowing up freaking Iraqi armor back in Desert Storm. And then at some point he goes to the drill field, becomes a drill instructor. And then if you think drill instructors are mean, he became a drill instructor. He made drill instructors. I think he was like the head one there too. And then he comes to us in 2003 timeframe, becomes our company gunnery sergeant, and is our company gunny through the whole entire 2003 Iraq invasion. And then when we come back, something happens which is very unusual in the Marine Corps. He picks up First Sergeant and gets to stay with us to be our company First Sergeant for our second deployment. Because usually when you pick up First Sergeant, they just take you and they send you somewhere else. But he got to go back with us as our company First Sergeant. Man, you couldn't ask for a better staff NCO and epitome of a staff NCO to be our company First Sergeant go down range. Yep.
Yeah, even down to our LTs. Mike Cap was our platoon commander. Just, very level-headed officer. Infantry officer, guys you read about World War I, World War II, these Marine officers, there's just something special about Marine officers that, I know people are like, what the hell are you talking about, Freddie? But in the big picture of things, you compare you compare their peers to other the services. A Marine infantry officer is a very well-trained person for the most part. And we were lucky to have a bunch of them. And they were led by Captain Samuel Carrasco at the time.
I agree. That's came up a few times doing these interviews for Warfighters. I've mentioned, and everybody I've talked to agrees with this, is the Marine Corps does a phenomenal job of producing infantry officers. Through my 20 years in the Marine Corps, like I can only think of a couple that I thought were subpar, and infantry officers, just every single one for the most part that I have met over the span of 20 years has just been a squared away. And just like you said, those guys we deployed with in OIF2, like you couldn't ask for better leadership going down range.
Yeah, great examples. And you know what? In a lot of that, and there's guys that came home because of it. Oh,
100%.
Guys, our numbers came home higher than they would have without them. I mean, we were some pretty nasty stuff over there, OIF2.
So when I was talking to you earlier, you mentioned that Micah Friedman was in your platoon. Was that an accurate statement?
Yeah, initially when I first got to 1st and 4th Marines, I had a clown named Micah Friedman and what the hell's his first name? Jack Alone.
Yep.
And these guys' stories I don't know if they started the stories themselves, but this shit was unbelievable. The shit they used to do was unbelievable. And I'm telling you, I used to get my ass chewed for these guys all the time. Going to a fresh unit, these guys falling in my hands. I mean, they didn't last in my hands very long because I was going to kill them.
Well, let's just show the audience who we're talking about here. This is PFC, maybe Lance Corporal Micah Friedman. At the time, he was under Freddy Osuna's leadership. So that's what Sergeant Osuna had to deal with.
I was probably standing behind that son of a bitch too. But you know what? Really smart kid. He was too smart. He's too smart for the Corps, man.
He's studying to be a lawyer right now.
Yep, he was too smart for the Corps. Same as Jack Alone. There's certain people that belong in independent responsibility positions, independent thinking positions, higher level executive decision making. Those are the clowns. I didn't know back then. Once again, I was naive in my time. Whatever. We all got to learn. But those guys right now, Jack Alone is in higher level military operations, which today make complete sense. He's an independent operator. Friedman, he's in law. I mean, that's probably where they belong. But back then, they were just crazy as hell. We didn't challenge them enough. I guess we didn't stimulate their brains enough. I tried.
Well, let's talk about OIF2 here, man. So, this was your first combat tour, right?
Yeah.
So what was it like? You've done all this training up to this point. You're a pretty senior Marine. You're a sergeant of Marines. And what was it like leading Marines in combat for the first time?
It was, I just had my first child. I was 23 years old, I think. Yeah. 23 years old, just got married, was about to have my first child actually. And we deployed a couple months after his birth. We're headed to Hawaii. We did a workup, headed to Hawaii. On the way to Hawaii, yeah, we did some libo in Hawaii. But you know what? Up until that point, during the workup to go back, for the unit to go back to Iraq, it was a whole lot of like you can't just you're not just going to step in as an infantry squad leader and just demand respect from dudes who have just came back from combat. It doesn't matter what rank they are, what level of the totem pole they are, how squared away you think you are, whose back you think you has your back, whatever. In the Marine Corps infantry at this time, there was Lance Corporals in my unit who had seen more blood than I had seen my whole life. And I grew up in the hood. So be it to come out to go out there in California, new unit. I was prepared to do whatever it took. I was prepared to show these guys, look, I know my shit. I'm willing to learn. Number one is that I'm humble. I'm willing to learn from a PFC or Lance Corporal, Sergeant, whoever's going to teach me what you just learned. I need to know that. You know something on a weapon system I don't know? You're going to sit here and show me. I'll show you something else. All right? So it had to be humble, and it worked out. I had a good squad, good team, good platoon, good company, worked hard, made sure I worked harder than my Marines, make sure I set a good example for them. And by the time we left, I think that I was ready and my platoon was ready. And so, yeah, I may have had distractions because I think I was a young man starting a new life, you know, in this great country. But that was probably the only distraction I had. I was ready, to go kick some ass.
Right.
OAF2, and I had no idea we'd be seeing as much shit that we did.
Right. So we got a little scuffle down in the Najaf Cemetery. You want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, we had. So we get to the hotel. We took the LCACs from the ship, USS Denver. Actually punched a stripper in Hawaii, but so I want to make sure that that's clear. That was a different me as well.
Are you sure?
I'll give that Sgt Freddy a thumbs up, though. She deserved it.
Are you sure the statute of limitations is passed on it?
Yeah. So I told my wife about that. She may not remember or not, but I told her. So anyway, we get to Kuwait, Camp Virginia, right? Hotter than hell. So that was my first experience of Kuwait. And we go on a advanced guard with the company gunny, Master Sergeant Hayes. No, Gunner Sergeant Hayes, right?
Yep.
So yeah, my squad is advanced guard for him, and we're gonna go make liaison in Najaf at the Ag Hotel Camp Hotel for the unit. We were at the 11th MEU. So anyway, so we were the first ones to get there, and it was cool, man. We landed. I think we landed in a helicopter under fire. So that was my first experience landing on the ground in Iraq. Was under fire in a helicopter at night, and yeah. So pretty much our mission there was supposedly stability operations, right? Yep. Stability operations, keep the peace, let the Army get out of here, hold the hands of the Army while they get out of here, pack up all their shit, and, nobody raises a fuss. And it didn't turn out that way. I think we were the first ones to set up at the AG, the Government Agricultural Building near the governor's office. And that was boring as hell. So I guess boot camp did us some justice because we learned how to be bored. But that was all in preparation for the big, fight that was to come, which was I've read in a lot of accounts, the largest scale subterranean combat since Hue City, Vietnam.
No question. Absolutely no question. And it's unfortunate that that battle is pretty much overshadowed by Fallujah, just because it happened. Fallujah happened a month or two later. So
yeah, that was a pretty crazy ass year for the Marine Corps.
Yeah,
we were trying to break all records, I guess. I'd still not want. The last place I would be in Marine Corps history would probably be Belleau Wood. If I had to pick one, that'd probably be the last place I'd ever want to have been, is Belleau Wood.
Yeah, that's insane. When you read about what those Marines did during that battle, I mean, it's almost like Civil War, crossing through that open wheat field under machine gun fire.
Yeah. So what's your number one battle? Like the one battle throughout history, Marine or not, what would be your number one? Like, okay, I'd call in sick that day.
Well, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that as a Marine, man. No way. So, but Bello Wood, Iwo Jima, Tarawa. I mean, you name it. Golly. Yeah, just, Marines have been put in some unbelievable situations.
Yeah, and you think, as before that's an interesting list of names you just said there, because before you think, man, could I have done that? Were those guys made different than us?
Chosen Reservoir. There you go.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yep. The cold. You got me, man.
The cold.
So I used to think like, we're Marines, we train hard, blah, blah, blah. We're badasses, but those men in World War I, they were just different. They were made different. But you know what? After seeing combat, you realize that they were just like us.
Yeah.
There was an Osuna somewhere running around, freaking head cut off, scared as hell. There was a, Downing somewhere. There was a Micah Friedman fucking around with grenades, smoking a cigarette with his butt cheeks, making his buddies laugh, playing his guitar, running around naked. We're just different time in history. We're just the Marines of this time.
The Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps put out a white letter, I think it was like a couple years ago, and it talked about just that, right? Because you always hear the saying, "Oh, new Corps this, new Corps that," like they're not as hard as they used. Man, that was the new Corps of their era. The guys hitting the beaches at Tarawa and Iwo Jima, like they were the new Corps of that era. And the guys that came before them were probably talking down about them, right? And now we look at those guys as the greatest generation of warfighters ever. And
absolutely, I hear that. From people. They'll talk about the new Corps of today, and I'll nip it in the ass right away because I understand better. Like, nah, this is the smartest, and I'll say right now, this is the smartest, fastest, strongest, most adaptive Marine Corps there has ever been. Because if it wasn't, then that means I failed to do my job, and everybody around me at the time we served, while we didn't do our job. If I can say something bad about the Marines today, and I've luckily as a contractor, I've gone back to 1st Marine Division and 2nd Marine Division as a civilian and been able to work with the Marines from the outside, and just stand there. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, not only are these guys trained, but these guys have some badass equipment now, man. These guys' equipment is amazing.
Yeah. I don't know if you keep up like with how the Marine Corps is evolving to take on the China threat, but essentially all the grunts are going to be super grunts. They're going to learn all the weapon systems, and it's not going to be individual MOSs like it was. And I know you don't know him, but I just had one of my old company commanders, Major Jingles, on one of these episodes of Warfighters, and his son just graduated from the SOI as a grunt, as a rifleman, I believe, or maybe he's part of the new training program. But he was saying in an interview, he's like, look, I'm having conversations with my son that, those are the kind of conversations I would have had with another officer, Marine officer back in the day. Like, this is how well they're getting trained nowadays, in the training packages are that legit.
Yeah, their tactical acumen is it's different. It has to be, but also they're just very well rounded. I've seen some of the concepts of where they're trying to go, as far as like, weapons intelligence collection, taking a grunt team and throwing them on a target site. They can pull electronic data. They can pull fingerprints. They can pull, human intelligence. They can pull bio intelligence. They can do all kinds of stuff, as well as kick you in your teeth. They're just it's a very smart concept, but it's really what's needs to happen. And I think it's because we did our job while we were Marines. I can take credit for that because I'm a Marine.
Right. So let's get back to you, man, because we can easily go down a rabbit hole talking about Marine Corps training. So let's go back to your time in Iraq and OIF too, man. Any particular moments that you can recall from that deployment that really stand out to you?
Yeah, I think there was definitely some benchmarks that I had to accomplish as a warrior up at this point, because it was 2002, 2003. I don't remember what year, 2004. I don't remember, but
yeah, 04.
Yeah, 04. But there's definitely some benchmarks. I'm like, okay, I want to, one day I'm gonna, meet a girl. One day I'm gonna get married. Well, one day I want to, get in a firefight. And so my first official firefight was at the Ag Center. Somebody just started launching shit at us, like mortar. It was a combined two-front like assault. They had guys on the ground maneuvering from the north and the east, and dropping mortars on us at the same time. I was a sergeant of the guard at that time, and our job was to protect the governor's center and the agricultural building. We were facilitating civil patrol, civil affairs, basically giving out money to local drug dealers and whoever the hell else wanted money. So anyway, pretty much the whole building got lit up. We maneuvered around, went to the ground level, got the QRF together, and trying to find some targets and put some heads down and try and get the damn fire from the mortars from stop landing on us. But that was the first night. From there, it was pretty much a month straight of mortar barrages, a lot of random intermediate ballistic range fire, from an AK, someone just bored shooting around a wall at us and shit. At this time at hotel, during the first month sometime, our CAT unit got engaged with the insurgency. And I don't know the particulars exactly what happened from my recollection, but pretty much it meant that we were all going to be going to the cemetery this time, because the Mahdi militia had established a strong point at the limited fire area or no fire area, which was the Ali Imam Mosque in the center of the second largest cemetery in the world. And because of this, the U.S. Army tank division that was there, or brigade, whatever you call the Army unit that was there, they had established points to assume tactical operational control of the avenues of approach and egress from the mosque. And that's where we came in. From what I heard early August, a tanker fell asleep. The tank crew fell asleep. They left the hatch open, and an insurgent jumped on top of the tank and shot one of the soldiers. You remember that?
Vaguely.
Inside the tank. So they were requesting ground troops to supplement the tank's positions in the cemetery, that's what we do anyways. That's your job as an infantryman, is to supplement tanks, right? If they're there, you're going to end up doing it. So that's how we ended up in the cemetery. But unbeknownst to us, and 1st Platoon, number 1, I was 2nd Platoon, but unbeknownst to 1st Platoon, who was called to go to provide the ground presence for the tanks, those were all registered targets. So they registered. There were impact areas that the enemy had already registered with their indirect fire systems, which happened to be 120 millimeter mortars in this area, and that's where the fun started. Yep, there's the mosque. I mean, the cemetery.
Yep. That's what we were fighting in, fellas.
Yeah, that
Fun
shit
times.
was surreal. That was surreal, dude. That was like, I've seen grown men cry for their moms before from, being sprayed in their eyeballs with OC spray during training. That was quick. They'd cry for about 15 minutes. They're like, oh, I didn't really cry for my mama. But no, dude, those nights in the cemetery, dudes were crying for their moms, sustained, thinking that their mom was going to show up and sweep them up. That was the most scared I've ever been in my life, and the most scared I've ever seen other human beings in their lives. It was, anyway, we could talk chronologically if you'd like.
Yeah, just to put in a plug that's missing from that story. The Monty militia actually shot down a Huey. You guys can see it there. This photo is courtesy of Zane Fisher, who I've also done an interview with Warfighters with. But they shot down that Huey, and First Platoon rolled out there to set up a cordon around that down Huey so that they could extract it out of there with a wrecker. And then we ended up pushing. I was actually attached to First Platoon at the time, but that was in the initial battle, part of the battle in Joff. So did you get to partake in the Koofa Raid?
Yeah. So August 18th, we went into the cemetery to relieve First Platoon on August 17th. First Platoon had lost, I think they took 3 or 4 casualties, to include Lieutenant Lewis, who lost an eye, where he was blinded in one eye from shrapnel. So we had a real quick rip in place. It was, hey, just keep your head down, man. It's 120s. We're like, oh, yeah, okay, we'll keep our head down. It's, whatever. Like in the infantry, Marine Corps infantry at this time, you're like, oh, whatever, man. They're mortars. So what's the subconscious thing in your head? Like mortars? What are you thinking? They're shitbags, right? They can't aim. They can't hurt anybody. They're our drunks. That's where we put our drunks. That's where we put our drunks. They can't hurt anybody. That's a troublemaker platoon. Dude, I never since that time in the cemetery, I have found a complete new respect for mortarmen. Which they probably knew in World War II, Korea especially, a respect for indirect fire like that, dude. That shit was scary, man. And it was 120 millimeter impacts around you within kill radius, and you're walking away from that, and I shouldn't even be here today. I'm amazed every day I wake up that, we survived that. It's amazing. So that was August 18th, the night of. We woke up the next morning. We had lost 2. One was KIA. That was Harvey Parkinson, and Myrick's was wounded. He was peppered pretty bad with the 120s. But they would just launch. They would, we're running around trying to evac people, trying to provide first aid, respiratory, whatever, and the ground would just shake and you just launch off your feet. That's Parkinson right there, second from right.
God rest his soul.
So that was the night we kept fighting. We're still taking fire. We're still firing. We're calling for fire on, basically blind targets. And the Marines are sleeping about 50% into mausoleums. So a mortar would hit, and then you'd have to go around and check the mausoleums to make sure your guys weren't buried alive. And, they weren't, because you'd hear them crying all damn night. I mean, and, don't get me wrong. Every Marine isn't just cuddled around crying. But I'm saying that's the shit you remember. You don't remember the Marine who's, laughing his ass off over here, and you're like, hey, shut the fuck up. This guy's losing his shit over here. Can you have a little respect? Like Seraphin. Louis Seraphin must have laughed at every single firefight, every opportunity he could. And I'm like, what the dude, put your head down. Your head's going to get knocked off. You know, there's rounds. I'm talking to Seraphin like a foot away from me. He's like, Freddie, did you fucking see this? Blah, blah, blah. Did you see this happen? And I'm explaining like, yeah, man, that's cool. You know, cool. Put your camera away. Put your rifle over there. Make sure your Marines you're a team leader. Get your shit together, you know? And a burst of tracer would come right between our face. You know, it was just crazy shit, man. But that's how dudes deal with shit differently. You know, that's how people revert to their survival instincts. And in his case, it was to just, hey, let's have a good time, you know? And others guys would just tuck their head under their ass and cry for their moms. So anyway, the next day we push in. Once daylight is about to spark, we start pushing in with the tracks. We had a lot of instances where tracks, like we had Marines trying to get into tracks. They were so scared, or they were, you know, they were taking direct fire from somebody and the tracks wouldn't let them in. Just crazy stories like that. But as we push in the cemetery, we'd, you know, come across different dudes. You'd buddy up with one Marine, another Marine, and it didn't matter the rank. I was buddied up with our XO, Lieutenant Lewis. Who was it? Who was our XO at that time? Lewis was first platoon commander.
Just keep talking. There's some Bravo guys in here. I'm sure they'll.
All right. There was an XO guy. Damn, I can't remember his name. But anyway, me and him were buddies, and we'd clear the underground mausoleums together. We'd see, you know, would look like a freshly disturbed gate that's going into the mausoleum, and we just most of the time just throw a grenade. I mean, I'd carry so many grenades. I must carry, you know, 15 grenades on me every chance I could. I would just throw a grenade down there, wait a little bit. All right, I guess no one's come out. All right, I'll go. Because as soon as you turn your back, you didn't want somebody to jump out and shoot you in the back. You throw smoke down there, try and smoke them out. A lot of times it was so anyway, we push, take fire, we, you know, fight guys here and there, 100 yards, 50 yards, you know, and then eventually pull back that day. And, you know, after all the adrenaline, we got back in the tracks, come back that morning, late morning, and get out of the tracks. And we're just like, you know, that's when all the adrenaline just dumps out of you. You're just like, oh, like, holy shit, what the hell just happened? Like, that was the biggest emotional, physical roller coaster that the human body could endure. It was amazing. You want some more, except for, you know, except for the bad parts. You know, you want to learn from those bad things and carry on. So then the next day was like Koofa, I think.
Let's see. So I was part of first platoon, and I guess after talking to Zane, he kind of plugged some old memories. But I guess we were combat ineffective after the first 3 days in the cemetery. So we didn't partake in the Koofa Raid, but you all did. Like, we held down the rear while you guys pushed out. So yeah, so fill us in on that, man. And here's a picture from the Koofa Raid.
Yeah, there's Phil Chavez right there on his 240, and I think his A gunner. I don't remember his A gunner, but anyway, so second platoon was the assault force, the assault element for the Koofa Raid. The Koofa Raid was a tactical target. They were training local insurgents in various, you know, insurgent shit. And so through intel, luckily, they figured out a night where we could get the most bang for our buck. So I was pretty fortunate at this time because I had been, when I went in the theater, I had been trained I felt I was trained pretty extensively on on squad to platoon to company level tactics. So I knew operational planning very well. So when something got tasked down, it would come to me because I knew how to run a mission. I knew how to write a mission. I knew how to speak the language. I knew how to do every phase of a Marine Corps infantry company level operation. Because that's what I did. I was a student of tactics, man. I just loved it. Marine Corps tactics was just my money. I nerded out on that shit so much, and it paid off. So how it paid off was I got to be the assault element on all kinds of shit, like the Koofa Raid. So the Koofa Raid, we show up. It's a nighttime operation. Our job is to move into this IP station, which is an Iraqi police station on the south side of the Euphrates River, next to a bridge. When we get to this IP station, we're going to set up a support by fire position, bring up machine guns. They're going to, set up their position, and then raid force is going to, which is pretty much Little Bird, is just going to lay waste to the damn college. So we're the first ones in on the ground. And we get to this palm grove. Well, first we get to this house, and we're told everybody here is combatants. There are no friendlies in this area. So a Marine stacks on this house because there's a fire in the backyard, and there's like someone's grilling in the backyard before we get to the palm grove. So like, hey, we need to frag this backyard, frag these people in the backyard. I'm like, what are you talking about? You're not gonna frag anybody. What the, hold on, Marine. So we get to a position where we can peek in there, and one of my squad leaders, big stalking, he's like, "No, man, there's like women and children back there, dude. What the fuck are they doing here? They're about to like see Armageddon right now. Like they need to get the fuck out of here." Like, to put it into perspective, like these people were standing at the worst place you could have been standing that night on Earth, And luckily there was some level-headed jarheads that found them, because it could have been bad for them. So we moved to the palm grove so that we can get eyes across that field to where our IP station is at, so we can set up a support by fire position. All of a sudden, the world erupts, and it's like this is me, and this is the world, just laser beams, like Star Wars Clone Wars. I think it's Star Wars Clone Wars, where you got like clones and freaking Jedi, and they're just like all attacking each other. There's like just tracers everywhere. That's what it was like, dude. LAR was shooting so many 25 mics. The palm trees are just falling in front of us. I'm like jumping out as I'm running across this field, taking my platoon across the field. There's palm trees falling next to us, and I'm afraid. I'm not afraid a Marine's going to get shot. I'm afraid a palm tree's going to fall on. So anyway, we get to a point where this shit is just so thick that you can't even see through it, and I might be exaggerating. Just green and red tracers just showering, dude, right in front of us, over our head. Like you cannot bury your head deep enough in the dirt, but somehow, if there's micro terrain, you're going to find that shit. And so we're just bogged down just by just necessity. And we get to this the highest point of this field, and I hear Osuna. So I crawl towards the voice, and I'm crawling over bodies in the dark, and dragging my rifle. And I'm like, what's going on? They're like, get the fuck across the field. I'm like, Roger that, fuck it, let's go. So I get my team leaders up, Stalking, Seraphin, and Young, and we're like, fuck it, let's go. We're gonna die there in that field by friendly fire, because we also have this other machine gun staff sergeant machine gunner who like really scary running machine guns, like really worried us. I'm not gonna give any names, but he really fucking scared us. And he was firing like across our heads too. So we had LAR, We had bad guys on the other side of the river, RPGs, rockets, 25 mics, you know, AK, everything. And we get across this 100-yard field. I'm doing somersaults, whatever I can, dude. I'm just like, I'm up, he sees me, I'm down. I'm up, he sees me, maybe I'm down. I got to change it up because if I don't, my OCD will get me killed because I'm not doing the right thing at this. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just do think of weird shit like that. And I made it to the other side of that field. Away, you know, we get a heads up. Everybody's up there. We're ready to assault the position. Frag out, frag the entrance, push my team over the hill. We're just screaming like, oh, I hope somebody's in these buildings because they're going to get fucked up. And we clear the buildings out, set up the support by fire position in the next building. I think 3rd Platoon came, and machine gun set up on top of that roof. And then a little bird comes. At the same time, PSYOPs rolls down the road, playing Let the Bodies Hit the Floor by Disturbed. And it was louder than shit. I mean, the loudest speakers they could have possibly put on a vehicle is what they had on this vehicle, playing Let the Bodies Hit the Floor. And a little bird parks right over my head and just, and I'm like, this is the greatest night of my life. None of my guys got, it's not over yet, right? Because I still got to get my guys back. But at this point, this was the greatest night of my life, dude. It was just fucking surreal. Like, I couldn't believe we just survived that. And the trophy was that I got a little bird parked over my head, and I could just see it in slow motion, just, and I knew nothing survived that building. I think it was like 70 dead. Like 70 dead bad guys in that building.
That's awesome.
So we got everybody back that night. No one got hurt. The biggest threat was probably the reservists on the way back. I hope you guys are trained better these days, but that was probably the scariest shit I faced was driving by reservists that night.
Oh man, that's too funny. All right, so Battle of Najaf winds down. We get sent up to Abu Ghraib prison to relieve a rifle company in 3-1 because they were going to go take part in the Fallujah offensive. So talk to us about your time at Abu Ghraib prison.
Oh, dude, it was crazy. So Abu Ghraib. So after the Mahdi militia walked away, like we went back to the Ag Center after that and spent a couple weeks, you know, a little ticks here and there. Lot of indirect fire still. You know, small arm fire engagements, mostly static though. And but then it turned into a political situation, and the Mahdi militia was it was a ceasefire called by the great Ayatollah, and the Mahdi militia was allowed to walk away. They just had to drop their guns or some shit, and it was ridiculous. So then we were sent to Abu Ghraib to relieve Lima Company, 3rd Battalion, 1st Marines, the Thundering Third, and because they had to go to Fallujah, prepare for Phantom Fury. So at this time, Abu Ghraib was about 25 miles south of Fallujah, between Route Mobile and Route Miami, I believe. So our job was going to be doing, you know, counterinsurgency operations, stability operations, Marines, you know, that shit. Doing counter IED operations, raids, you know, a lot of a different type of mission as you got towards farther north. A different operation, more related to stability operations, policing, door to door, you know, knock and talks with locals, having a presence, having to, you know, talk to people like they're humans, or the next day your ass is going to get blown up. You know, learning that lesson was really, really cool for me, because your learning cycle is just, in combat, your learning cycle is just so rapid. You know, you go from Najaf, where it's everything goes, to, hey, go to this area and don't get blown up. if you're an asshole, you're going to get blown up, you know? So, yeah, we did a lot of IED sweeps. We had a lot of immediately on the roads. I mean, you would cross a target reference point, enemy established target reference point, and you know you're going to get hit. You know, they just start walking them in on your Humvee. And what's crazy back then, I look at it as a lot of guys look at it as Mad Max. You know, especially we'd go into Fallujah to like pick somebody up or do a operation near the outskirts of Fallujah before Phantom Fury, and you'd see the Marines out there, and they're just like, you'd swear there's like a skull on a damn, you know, they'd have human skulls on their freaking Humvees. They didn't, because I wasn't, you know, that's a freaking war crime, but they would have everything but that, man. It was like free for all. Wear whatever the fuck you could, carry whatever you could to keep your ass alive, man. You know, I had sandbags. I don't know how the hell I fit so many sandbags in the passenger side of a Humvee. I swear I'd put one in my lap, dude. I had sandbags all around me because we didn't have up armor. We had no armor in these vehicles.
Yeah, we had those like bare minimum armor, like L-shaped doors, no windows, and none of that stuff. It was like, matter of fact, I don't know if you're about to get to this, but the Army, when we got to Abu Ghraib, because the IED threat was so much more significant up there than it was in the Najaf, gave us a whole like fleet of freaking up armored Humvees. But we still had some of, you know, our other ones as well. So we had those Kevlar blankets. Remember, we were cutting those up and like, you know, rigging them up with 550 cord and duct tape, like however we could to like help up armor them.
Yeah, dude. And that was a crazy fob life too. I mean, we got a lot of mortars, but what was the craziest shit was just living, you know, I had my own cell block for my squad. We were on LSA 25, and LSA 25 is where they usually put the infantry Marines because it was separated. It was like the maximum security of the prison complex. So they would put Marines there or soft teams out there because it actually had a secondary entry control point and perimeter. It was like a perimeter within a perimeter. And I thought it was crazy, man. It was nice knowing that we had like a reinforced hard building. But after 125s, yeah, there's the cells. We live. Is that Bonilla? Is that what it is? It was nice having a hard, you know, a hard building over our heads. But after going through 120s, it really didn't matter what you had over your head, man. Like in my mind, there's nothing that would stop a 120 after, you know, being next to impacts, you know, constantly for hours and hours on end. But yeah, cell life. So that's, anyway, I'm a huge Johnny Cash fan, so it was real fitting for me. You know, I had some like self-imposed depression because I listened to so much Johnny Cash in those cell blocks.
Yeah, I'd say I really enjoyed Abu Ghraib. I felt Abu Ghraib was like the epitome of, obviously, you know, we hooked and jabbed in the Najaf, but like what we were doing in Abu Ghraib, you know, we were doing a lot of foot patrols, we were doing mobile patrols, we were doing raids and all kinds of shit. I mean, we had that briefing room, you know, guys were given 5-paragraph orders and stuff. Like it was like the epitome of like sustained combat operations. I mean, it was good, man. It was a good time.
Yeah, you know what? That was a great point. You know, you got to be an infantryman. You know, and if you know, looking back, I got to plan my own, you know, operations. If you wanted to get outside the wire, you could justify it if you had enough information, if you went to the right sources for information, if you created those sources. If you did your job, you learned how to think outside the box to get your guys out of the wire. Because you know, if you didn't get them out the wire, they're going to get in trouble. You know, they're going to get in trouble. They're going to go mad. You know, we had, you know, bad stuff happen in that at Abu Ghraib. And, you know, it was my job to make sure I got my guys out every chance I got. In fact, I almost got in trouble because because my leadership at, my platoon commander, platoon sergeant level, they're like, Freddie, you got to slow down, man. I'm like, no, we got to get outside. We got to get out the wire. While we're in here, they're out there finding ways to kill us in here. So I got to get my guys out there so that we can keep them from doing that. Like, if we don't stay busy, it's just going to cause more problems. You got to go and, rattle some cages out there.
Right.
But yeah, our guys weren't afraid ever. They wanted to get out. We had Seraphin, lunatic Seraphin would, just, we'd take fire. He'd be up on the towers trying to, do what he did. But anyways.
I remember specifically one instance where, they would shoot at the prison, and then the big air raid sirens would go off, and like all the reserve artillery unit that manned the perimeter guard in those towers would open up. But we had our own tower in our little camp, and I remember going up there with my gunner machine gun team, and we get up there, man, and it's just like you're looking out into the open city. Like, you don't know where the hell they're shooting from, right? And there's like rounds pinging off the tower and stuff, and it's like, maybe it wasn't a good idea to come up here.
Yeah, this, like I said, yeah, they had reservists on security on the rest of those towers, and they would just light people up constantly and piss the locals off. And that was, we were the ones that had to go out there and make shit right or wrong or whatever.
Now, to their credit, though, they stopped that V-bed attack.
Yeah, V-bed, yep.
So they freaking stopped the shit out of that, man. And that thing was loaded down with 155 rounds. So I remember Cat went out there and shot a toe at it and blew it up, and it left like a football field-sized crater in the ground. So I've got a picture. I got to scan it, but it's me holding like a piece of shrapnel from a 155, and it's like this long, and it's from that car bomb.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy. Yeah. Anyway,
but well, cool, man. Anything else happen at Abu Ghraib?
We had a lot of stuff happening, man. It was a good time. I mean, I'm glad I brought all my guys home. They brought my ass back home. We brought each other home, however you want to say it. That's the most important thing. But yeah, I mean, we could go on for days about this shit.
Right.
If we wanted to. But,
well, let's wrap up OIF2. You come back to the States, and what'd you do after that?
So I got back to the States, 05. We got back. And I had a guy come up to me, Alex Lemons from Scout Sniper Platoon. He had been writing me. He's like, "Hey man, you got to come over." I'm like, "Nah." I'm like, I'm not enough Tom Berenger, bro. He's like, "Nah, whatever. We heard you're a good mission planner. You understand mission planning. That's what we need." I was good. I always been a good shooter. That's the easy part for me. But the operational planning part, thinking, strategy and thinking, that was my claim to fame. And so that's why I went over there. Well, why I went over there is because we lost some Marines, wounded, killed, and I wanted to protect people. I wanted to protect the protectors, and I think it was a good time to do it. And so I kind of dedicated the rest of my time in the Marine Corps to becoming that, putting myself in a position where I could protect Marines from then on. And I knew it was going to be hard, and it's probably going to be the hardest thing I ever did in my life, and physically and mentally. And it was. I became a Marine Corps Scout Sniper about a year later. It was about a year, worth of training and workup, and getting home after work, falling asleep next to the door. I'd get home from work, fall asleep, lay down next to the door, stand up, go back to work. That was a constant thing for me, just exhausted. But I pushed my body so hard, man. I was 27 years old as a Scout Sniper at this point, and I ran a 15-minute 30-second 3 mile, 30 pull-ups just because that was an even number to finish at. Probably do more, and whatever number of sit-ups that you could fathom. But I was a machine. I never became physically fit so that I could have a good PFT or get promoted or anything.
Hey, Freddie, real quick, just to put it in perspective, because I know there's a lot of Marines there's a lot of people that aren't Marines. So 3 mile run, 18 minutes is a perfect score. So he's well below what a perfect score is on a 3 mile run in the Marine Corps.
Yeah, I was pretty sick. I was sick in the head. And we didn't, 1st Battalion, 4th Marines, Scout Sniper Platoon, we didn't train for, we didn't PT for scores. We didn't PT for physical fitness or appearance or nothing. We just ran a PFT because we had to, and that's the shape we were in, dude. We were just animals. We ran everywhere we went. We didn't let nobody see our, nobody ever got to see our ghillie suits. We didn't brag about being a Marine Scout Sniper. Nobody knew we were Scout Snipers unless we told you or someone else told you. It was all about hunting bad guys. We wanted to get back overseas and kill as many bad guys as we could so that we could reduce casualties on our side and inflict casualty on the enemy side and know we did our job. Simple as that. And we just happened to be, robots. It was pretty amazing to know you did that now.
You remember then First Sergeant Morales calling it Cyborg PT when he
Cyborg PT, hell yeah.
We do the O course like freaking times 10 or something, and then go run the SOI and back.
Dude, yeah, and those hills, man.
Yeah,
those hills will get your ass in shape. I went to a reunion probably 4 or 5 years ago, and we went up to the crosses. We went up the Beast or the Microwave, I think. And I'm a civilian. 36 years old at the time, I think. And good God, can't believe I had like a Alice pack with spray paint so we could spray paint the skulls and shit.
Yeah.
Dude, I almost died. Nobody knew that, but I almost died.
So did you ever deploy with the snipers?
No, I didn't deploy with Scout Sniper Platoon. I was injured. I was injured in combat, actually. And during the whole time I was in the platoon, I was nursing an injury that just wouldn't go away. I ended up having surgery on my back. And there was, a time where I had to look in the mirror and be like, look, you worked really hard for this. It's time to go do it. But at this point, are you going to be a liability to your team, or or is it time to just, sit on the sideline? I'm like, nah, it's time to get surgery and see what happens. So, yeah, I jacked up my back in the cemetery, actually, and didn't know it. And so 2008, I got out, became a contractor, was training Marines and soldiers, Army, and I've been training them ever since. I've been training Marines since I was I've been training the Marines for 20 years to this day, man.
I mean, that's an important thing to note. Even Micah Friedman, when he first left active duty, like, he continued to serve essentially by being a contractor and teaching and passing on to Marines, his knowledge and stuff from deployment. So I mean, it's just phenomenal that the service in a lot of Marines continues on even after leaving the Marine Corps.
Yeah, it's a common thing. Hey, there's me. That's me at 2nd Marine Division in 2015. I was a subject matter expert for the Combat Hunter program. The Combat Hunter program teaches Marines how to track people based on the old Native American American skill set of finding, interpreting, reading, and following footprints, vehicle tracks, weapons impressions, anything that touches the ground. We teach Marine infantrymen how to find them in any environment in the jungle. There's Marines right now in the Philippines tracking PLA to contact. There's Marines in South America right now you don't know about who are tracking bad guys to contact all over the world. Not only Marines, but there's soldiers, airmen, sailors, all of them. That's a course. Before I got out, so Donnie Brazil told me, remember I told you, the guy Donnie Brazil, old Salt Dog, War Dog, told me, last words he told me was, Freddie, don't ever take no for an answer. And that right there, right before I got out, I got the Army to pay a shitload of money to send this world-class tracking instructor to 1st Marine Regiment to teach recon Marines and 1st Marine, 1st, 5th, 3rd, and anyway, Marine Scout Snipers how to track bad guys. And I got the Army to pay for it. So that's awesome. There's Dave Williams right there on the far right. Now another example of someone who's still serving the community, still serving Marine Scout Snipers, U.S. Marines in general, and servicemen in general. There's who's that? Sergeant Ung, right there. He has a patch. That's from fragmentation over his eye, fragmentation grenade to the eye. Yurik is in the background right there. Got Sonny Herman right there. Randy Merriman, the bald-headed guy, was a Texas State Trooper, also tracker. David Reeder right in the center, who's the owner. David Reeder right there with the Tiger Stripes. Just a huge legend in, veterans advocacy, Second Amendment, lifestyle. He's the owner of Breach Bay and Clear. His son, Daniel Reeder, I babysat his ass that year, back in 2007. We were teaching soldiers out in Oklahoma. I went on leave to do that. Nobody knows that, though. So that's David Reeder. He's a owner of Breach Bay and Clear. Works with Gun Mag Warehouse. Currently, check out Gun Mag Warehouse. We got some classes lined up on there. We created this network that allows us to reach people, right? Through people like that, through Dave Reeder, Eric Utrecht, all these other veterans, we created this network in the gun industry, the tactical apparel industry, performance nutrition industry, firearms industry. And why we did that is because we knew a lot about a bunch of stuff, and we knew that by teaming up, we could get a better reach. So now I can teach, like that picture right there. I got 5 veterans right there. I got Phil Chavez, the guy standing in the top right with the boonie, that huge monster Indian right there.
No kidding. You work with Chavez? I did not know that.
Phil Chavez right there was the machine gunner on the front page of Time Magazine at Koofa College. That machine gun photo that you showed, that's the machine gunner right there.
That's awesome. I had no idea he was working with you. That's badass.
Yep. And there's Louis Flores right next to me to my right. 1st Battalion, 4th Marines Bravo Company. Navajo Indian. Beautiful hair, beautiful locks, Louis Flores. And then to the left right there is Joe Zeppa, who's a 51 from 1st Battalion, 4th Marines Bravo Company.
Wow. I had no idea you were still working with all these Bravo guys. That's awesome.
Yep. So I get them out. We try and get our guys out as much as we can, man. We get veterans to come out, and through tracking. So it's not all about, kicking teeth in and being a snake eater and being a badass. It's about being in tune with yourself. And the better you know yourself, just like Joe Mo said, the better you understand yourself and the better you train in combat, the more you'll be prepared for what the world brings you. And I took those words, man, and if I could thank that guy today and buy him a beer, I would. But he probably got better shit to do than hang out with my dumb ass.
I bet you take you up on that, man.
Yeah, I took it, and I live by it. I live by all these things that these people told me. And there's me and Dave Reeder again with Recoil Magazine, teaching a class out in Maryland for Rockville Police Department. And so through guys like Dave Reeder, who has a voice in the industry, we try and get people who need the training. It may save lives, search and rescue, law enforcement, or military combat application. I work for Cochise County Sheriff's Office as a tracker here in Arizona. I teach pretty much every search and rescue team throughout the state of Arizona. And we do it to save kids. You know, at one time I was doing it to hunt bad guys. You know, so now I'm the teacher. You know, I get to live vicariously through my students, and it's an honor and privilege, man. And just like when I got that EGA on that Reaper one day, listening to old daggone Proud to Be an American, I said, hey, you know what? I'm gonna have a lot more moments like this, and even from this day, that's in Virginia, West Virginia, teaching a class out with Jimmy Hatt with F3 Tactical, hosted by F3 Tactical in West Virginia. So we got some classes coming up. I wanted to mention we got some classes coming up in Michigan near with Michigan Defensive Firearms Institute. And in fact, the link that you shared is going to take you to Michigan Defensive Firearms Institute, and that's going to show the classes that I have scheduled there for grid down communications, which is going to be canceled, but we're going to be doing camouflage and concealment, which is, man, we should do a whole nother class on this, podcast on this, Brett. But camouflage and concealment and weaponize the senses, which is the world class, the baddest tracking class, 2-day tracking class you're ever to go through until you go through Cody Carroll's class. So that's a shout out to Cody, one of the coolest down-to-earth trackers I know. And not to mention Matt Mal, if you're out there, much respect, brother. Let's teach some classes together. We also have a class going on east of Dallas next month. It's going to be a camouflage and concealment and a weaponize the senses class. We have a class in October in Indiana with Briggs Core Dynamics. And if you guys want a class hosted out your way, hey, there's no such thing as no, right? Let's do it. All right, Brent, I'm done plugging shit. Jesus. I told you I'm a whore.
No, you were talking, you got a class coming up next month in my neck of the woods. Unfortunately, I'm going to be out of town because I would have loved to have gone up there and just document that, you know, obviously not film the whole thing, but just, man, to plug that, to highlight that. So I hope you come back, and I hope our schedules link up, man, because it would be great to A, see you again, and then B, that just training you're talking about is just phenomenal. Like I said, the combat hunter training that I took before I went to Afghanistan in 2011 timeframe was just phenomenal. And man, guys, if you haven't been exposed to combat hunter tracking, human tracking, it is just an amazing skill that any warfighter needs to know. So
yeah, my book, Index Tracking, Essential Guide to Trailing Man and Beast, is available on Amazon Books. I don't know if you can post that or not.
Yeah, send me the link, and I will plug that into the video.
Okay, and I'm writing my second book called Weaponize the Senses right now. I've been writing it for like 5 years, dude, but it just won't rest. So I'm gonna have to just cut it off at some time and stop writing and just write a third book. So, but it's a good introduction.
Yeah,
and yeah, we'll get something scheduled with you, definitely.
That's awesome. Well, you got any? Do you have time for some questions from the audience?
Sure, man. I'd love to.
All right, guys. Well, we're about to wrap it up here. So if you guys any questions for Freddie before we call it quits, now's the time to ask. I don't know if you can you read the comments, Freddie, or need me to plug them up here?
I'll probably need you to plug them up on top because I don't see. Okay. There we go.
Yeah, but you know, dudes are definitely asking for, you know, some video, and like you and I were talking earlier, you know, I documented a lot of the one shepherd training I did, and it just did wonders for that organization as far as multiplying the numbers, because people just didn't know about it. But once I started putting the videos out there about it, and people could see the training firsthand in video format, it was like, holy crap, I need to go to this. And then I've watched over the years their numbers grow and grow and grow to the point to where, like, every training semester is, for the most part, full and sold out. Here we go. Let's see. We got Freddie. What do you think about the CTC before and after the DSD left?
I think it was the same. I really can't say that there was any, because I was with the combat tracker course in the U.S. Army as a contractor before when he started it, while he was there, and after he left, and it was the same. There was nothing. The syllabus stayed the same. As I can recall, there was no major difference. I think he made a great contribution historically to pursuit operations when it came to small unit, employment, small unit wise. So David Scott Donnellan, we owe a lot to him for his vision for bringing combat tracking to where it is today in the United States.
Another one says, any snipers catch on fire? I assume he's talking about like the burlap in their ghillie suits. You ever experienced that?
No, but we can definitely demonstrate that during our camouflage and concealment course if you're willing to volunteer. Jerry.
That's funny. Let's see. How's Toe Dig?
Hey, JT, my old Sergeant Major Army friend. JT is a airborne retiree. Just a great ambassador to the U.S. Army for us jarheads, so that we know we got to keep our head level. And Joe Turner is a good friend of mine out here in Cochise County, Arizona, a great tracker himself. And Toe Dig's doing fine. Joe, you got to come by and see us soon.
All right, we got outstanding work, Freddie. Keep it going. Many people could use your knowledge inside of the military as well as outside.
Thank you. I appreciate that comment. We will keep it going. I got 3 sons, so it's going to go on as long as they're able to teach as well.
One guy's like, have you seen my camo videos? Yes, he has. We talked about that already off camera. So let's see. Freddie sells out every class in Michigan and Northern Woods. Get signed up. Also check out the Grid Down Comms class he's bringing to Michigan.
Hey, thanks, Matt. Matt is a partner out with Foundation Defense up in Northern Michigan. And like I mentioned before, there's a huge, wonderful following of Second Amendment, living lifestyle Americans up in Michigan that I never knew existed, and they're all kind of seem to revolve around this Michigan Defensive Firearms Institute, ran by Eric Utrecht and his awesome wife Ellie in Luther, Michigan. So I can't wait to go back out there, and I hope to see some new faces and definitely get in on it. It's like I teach the stuff, and you guys don't know me from anybody, but I'll tell you what, it is absolute blast to teach these programs that we came up with. The tracking program, there's nothing like it in the world. I created it from scratch. I was teaching 2 weeks of combat tracking to the U.S. Army and U.S. Marines. I was like, you know what? How can I make this how can I make a damn good tracker in 2 days? Because that's all I'm going to get in real life. And how can I make it entertaining and fun? And that's what I did, man. And so if you guys can get to it, let's do it.
All right. So I think this will probably be the last one, and then we'll wrap it up. But the username someone says, great show tonight. He's like, Freddie, from your own perspective, what are some of the most important aspects to the warrior mentality?
I think the most important, I'd say, trait of a warrior is humility. It's knowing knowing that you are willing to suffer more than your opponent, and when you can do that, you can think more clearly because you're distracted by the things that don't matter. But you can, and I'll tell you this that's kind of a teaser, but you can slow down time. And when you can slow down time because you're experienced and you're level-headed and you're calm of mind, then you can become successful in any fight within reality. But you've got to be down to earth. You got to be humble. You got to train. And hard training and suffering is going to get you that humility. You can't buy it. You can only earn it. But that's the most important aspect of warrior mentality in my book. But what the hell do I know, right?
Yeah, there's something to be, just to piggyback on what you just said, Freddie. There's something to be said about like when Marines go out to the field and they train in just god awful, miserable conditions, like piss poor rain, freezing cold. When you come out of the field after experience that, like the camaraderie that's built just from that embrace of the suck, there's something to be said for that, and it absolutely has training value. So,
what is that comment right there?
Which one?
Loganson. Can you read that?
I'm not seeing it. Yeah, I'm not seeing it, brother.
Freddie, I just want to thank you for canceling the mountain trek on that day after the SEALs got us drunk the night before.
It's funny.
You're welcome, Logan. You owe me.
And if there's something I missed, Freddie, you can always go back and rewatch the video, and you can watch the comments in live, like they pop up as they pop up during the live stream. So if there's something you missed, you can go back and reference that. But nonetheless, man, I appreciate you coming on tonight. This has been a fantastic stream. So
yeah, hey, finally great to catch up with you, Brent. I'm a huge fan of yours, and I'll continue to follow your stuff, and hopefully we can do a combined camouflage experience one day.
Yeah, man, I absolutely look forward to that. Dude, not just that, but like the tracking too. God damn, that stuff is just phenomenal.
All right, we'll throw some dates around for June or October. How about let's start there?
That sounds good. Probably more.
I'll come out to you.
Probably more apt for October. June's usually reserve annual training time frames, but I look forward to it, man. All right, guys. Well, this is Sgt Freddy Osuna. Make sure you check out the link I have in the description box, his Greenside Training program. Amazing stuff, guys. Highly encourage you to go out there and take part in his training. Good friend of mine. We served together in Bravo 1-4. Freaking warrior. Just outstanding American and patriot. So have a good night, guys. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to leave a comment.